is time for another installment of your all's absolute favorite series that I do here on this channel. And it's when I wake up feeling a little spicy, when I wake up choosing violence. It is when I share my unpopular luxury opinions, which I've learned over the course of doing this series. Although a lot of people also disagree with, some of my unpopular luxury opinions, a lot of people also agree. So I don't feel like they're as unpopular as I originally thought they were. They're just things that a lot of people don't say out loud because they're kind of afraid to speak out against the norms. So just know that by nature of me doing this series, there are going to be a lot of you that agree and a lot of you that disagree with what I have to say, and that is a-okay. You are absolutely encouraged to share your thoughts down in the comments below. I will never berate you for your thoughts and opinions. I will sometimes respectfully disagree, and that's okay. That is the beautiful thing about being a member of the family, is that this is a safe space and you're able to share your opinions and you're not going to be attacked. With that out of the way, let's get into it and talk about my unpopular luxury opinions. And I'm going to start out with one that I feel like there's going to be a lot of blowback for. But if I'm being really honest, I think I've kind of fallen out of love with Chanel bags. Specifically like the current style or kind of like what we got from Virginie for the past years. When I think of Chanel, I think of this beautifully elegant, classic brand that is iconic. And you know in your mind, like when you think of the Chanel woman, exactly what she looks like. She looks well put together. She looks very demure, very ladylike. She's got some beautiful colors, beautiful accessories. She's got a beautiful jacket and like probably a classic flat bag. That's like what I think of in my mind. We know obviously like Virginie is out, Mathieu is in. Good for you, Mathieu. Way to climb on up there. I'm so excited to see what he does because I loved, the work that he's done just in this brief time, heading up creative design at Bottega. So we know Chanel's going to change. And I'm really excited for that change because the direction that Virginie had the brand going in is one that just doesn't really resonate with me. Now, as a creative director, I think it's really important that you constantly iterate and evolve and offer new things to your customers. And Virginie was doing that. But to be honest, I just didn't really love a lot of the stuff that she was putting out. I feel like she leaned way too heavily into additional like charms and embellishments and ornamentations on a lot of the bags. And I think she also like really confused the brand by creating so many different bag styles. I mean, we know Chanel, like Louis Vuitton, they have so many different collections, so many drops. It is honestly really hard to keep up. As someone who's fully immersed in this world, even I find it overwhelming at times. Like there are collections I just completely miss out on because, who can keep up these days? It's like every other week. But I think that the amount of newness that was introduced into Chanel just made it feel very disjointed. I also think that it got far too playful and whimsical. And I think with all of the added like ornamentation, with all of the extra straps and just like everything that was going on, Chanel just started feeling really busy to me. Like the Chanel bags just felt overwrought, like overworked, like there was just too much going on. Now, obviously, huge disclaimer, I still love Chanel as a brand. I still love all the categories, bags included, but I just have not been loving the current styling of the bags. I do love their more classic things that are much more true to Chanel DNA. I mean, honestly, like what I'm wearing today, it feels very true to Chanel's DNA. This is something I love, and this was something I bought, from Virginie. So, I don't like hate the brand at all, but it used to be that whenever I was thinking about buying a new bag, I always just wanted a Chanel bag. And if I'm honest, take out the quality issues, right? Take out the availability issues, take out all of that stuff. That stuff is important. It's another reason that, Chanel's not necessarily at the top of my list all the time when it comes to handbags. It's just that the bags just feel too zany and too all over the place. And there's too many like wildly impractical small bags like this that they're just putting out there so that way you buy another bag to pair with your main size bag. You can't fit anything in these bags. They're not very functional. They still cost thousands of dollars. And so, I don't know, just for a lot of different reasons, just none of it's really sitting right with me. And I'm just kind of glad, honestly, that this era of Chanel is over. And I'm really excited for what Mathieu's gonna come in and do. I'm really looking forward to like getting back to the roots of Chanel and just feeling that feeling that I used to feel of being so excited anytime I walked in. Like now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff I like, but none of it like am I willing to pay, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9,000 for. I miss that feeling because I used to have that feeling all the time, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully feeling that feeling once again. Okay, this next one is a total doozy, and please do not come for me because I am an owner of the bag that I am about to talk about. But my unpopular luxury opinion is the fact that I can't understand why Speedies are actually so popular. Because if I'm being really honest, Speedies are wildly impractical bags in terms of use. I honestly had no idea how impractical Speedies were until I got my first and only Speedy, and you all know it's a very sentimental, very meaningful bag to me. I won't get into it here because I'm not here to cry on the internet today, but when I got my Speedy when I was 21, I was like, wait a minute. It's only got these two little top handles that just fit, like on the crook of your arm. You cannot put it over your shoulder. There's no extra strap unless you get the bandolier version, which is a lot more money, and that's not a Speedy, it's bandolier. So it's just got these little things. It's only a top handle bag, and you open it up, and it's just one big open canyon of a bag. There's no organization, there's no nothing, There's nothing to make this bag more functional and more usable. I remember feeling like when I was wearing this bag, well, I felt like I was like hot shit. Like I was like, oh my God, can't tell me nothing. I am so cool wearing my Louis Vuitton bag. But like anytime I went to go and find something in the bag, I felt like I had to go like dumpster diving inside of the bag to find whatever it was that I was looking for. And I remember specifically when I used to wear that bag almost every day, I started looking for everyday things that were actually in bright colors so I could use those. So I remember I had like a bright keychain at the time. I had a bright cell phone cover at the time. All of these things because they were easier to find in this like crevice of a bag. So I just think it's really interesting because obviously the Speedy is beautiful, right? It's so visually appealing and it's iconic, but it is not functional really at all, other than the fact that it fits a lot inside, and that's great. But it's just not functional because especially the fact that you have to hold it in your arm, especially as you go up in terms of sizes, like to the bigger sizes, like a 35 or something like that, when that bag is full, that is very uncomfortable to carry on the crook of your arm. I remember I really regretted having that bag when I was living in New York City because I was like, I'm doing all this walking all the time. When you're in a walking city, it's really important to have a bag that can go over your shoulder. And I just felt like the Speedy, I felt like I had like one big bicep because I was always holding it in the crook of my arm. So I just think it's really interesting that Speedies are so popular considering the fact that they're really just like not that practical. So for those of you that have Speedies, let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree that it's just not a very functional bag? Like it's just not very practical? Or like, am I missing something? Is it like user error? Please let me know. Like maybe a lot of you will make it work by having bag organizers. I'm not really sure. But you know what? Hats off to little Speedy because she still managed to become one of Louis Vuitton's most popular bags, even though she's not functional at all. And while we're on the topic of Louis Vuitton, I have another one. And I know that this one's gonna hurt, but I will never buy any type of monogram or like damier printed Louis Vuitton luggage. Not a keep all, not a rolling carry-on, nothing. In fact, actually no, let me expand that to just past Louis Vuitton. I will not buy any type of monogrammed, like all over printed luggage, whether it's Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Fendi, Chanel. I don't know if I've ever seen, I know they have luggage and stuff and they might have like a CC, but I don't think I've ever seen anything all over printed, but you let me know. I think that it is a terribly bad mistake to travel with all over monogram luggage because we know, we've seen the videos on YouTube about creators getting robbed, about having their things stolen, and it's happened when they're on vacation a lot. When you're on vacation that there are a lot of people looking to, unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are a lot of people looking to take advantage of tourists, whether it's making them overpay for things or scamming them or stealing from them. And so I feel like if you are walking around with monogrammed luggage, you are literally screaming at me I got money, please come rob me. Like, I am the prime target for you. I've got so much money that I carry all of my money in another bag that costs a lot of money. Now, obviously, we know that there are lots of types of luggage that are expensive, that are readily recognizable, like Tumi, for instance, or even like Louis Vuitton when it's like not the all over like damier or monogram print. Like, people still know those things are expensive, but it's a lot less obvious. And I think that by wearing monogram luggage, you are walking around and making yourself a target when you travel for people like taxi cab drivers or like tourist tour guide people, or like, I hate to say it, but even like bellboys, housekeeping. There are just so many different people that could unfortunately take advantage of you while you're traveling. And some of them, this is their profession. This is how they make their money, is through this like dishonest way of life. I hate to say it. Not everyone, don't get me wrong. There are lots of honest, hardworking people that work in the tourism industry, but there are always some bad apples in any type of job. And so I just feel like I would always want to minimize my risk whenever I travel. And so for me, I just think that any type of monogram luggage, but Louis Vuitton is the one that comes to mind, is just, it's a bad idea. It is a bad idea. And I don't see myself changing my mind on that. So I just don't think I'm ever gonna get any type of monogram luxury luggage anytime soon. Now, moving on to another one that I know is also going to be controversial, because I know that just like with the Louis Vuitton luggage, like a lot of you all have those pieces, you know, in your collection. I know a lot of you all have done this, what I'm about to say, but I think it is insane that people pay the prices that they are paying for Birkins and Kellys on the secondhand market, because I do not think that Birkins and Kellys are worth the prices being charged on the secondhand market. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, like ones that have truly been like worn and pre-loved and things like that. I'm talking about the ones that get like sold by resellers. They're brand new, in box, full set, you know, straight from the store. It's like a Birkin 25, Kelly 25, a mini Kelly, Kelly Pochette. The bags that are going for like $25, $30, $35,000. I literally cannot wrap my mind around that. That is the price of a car. I know I've used this analogy before, you know, on my channel, but you would be willing to pay the price of a car for a handbag. Now, granted, I don't know who the people are that are buying those like brand new Birkin 25s, full set in box from the secondhand market. You all might be billionaires. And if you're a billionaire, okay, I get it. Like, you're not gonna have the same concerns that I do as like a regular person. But I also don't know how many billionaires are probably members of the family. I feel like you all are busy doing other stuff. You're probably not watching YouTube. So I think much more of you all are much more like me. We are hardworking, everyday people. We go and we work our little everyday jobs to save enough little coins to buy these like nice little luxury things for ourselves, these nice little treats that give us joy. And I just can't imagine spending $30,000 on a bag. And I'll tell you why. Because I obviously recently got my Kelly from the boutique. And don't get me wrong, even the prices in the boutique are high. I do think they're justified. And this is not like, I'm not like buying into like the Hermes hype or anything like that. If you take into account the fact that these bags are handmade, it takes 40 hours to create one bag, okay? If an artisan that is creating one of these bags, say they're paid like $100 an hour. I have no idea how much these people make, but say they're being paid $100 an hour, which feels kind of fair. I really don't know. I think that's a fair going rate. That means just in time and labor alone, that bag costs $4,000. That's not counting materials. That's not counting transportation, marketing, packaging, you know, anything like that. You know, like if you run a business, whatever it costs you to produce something, you really hope that you're able to have margins of at least like 50%. You want to at least be able to double it or triple it. A lot of companies quadruple it. Good for them. They've got insane margins. Skincare has like 90% margins, which just goes to show you a lot of skincare is a scam. But so if you take like the base cost, say it was like $4,000 just for labor alone, if you just doubled that or tripled it, it makes it the price that Hermes is selling it for. So Hermes is actually selling it at much lower margins than a lot of other companies do. So I get the in-store price. And I know a lot of people say, okay, well, the pre-loved price is because you have to take into account, you know, the pre-spend, you know, what was all the other stuff that someone had to buy in order to get offered that bag plus the price of a bag. Since it's one-to-one, say an average bag costs like $13,000, So you double it, it means it really costs $26,000. So I understand why someone could charge $26,000 on the pre-loved market, but they're failing to remember that, yeah, but if you buy it in store and you've bought other stuff to get offered one, you have all that beautiful stuff. Like, I love the stuff that I have from Hermes. Now, granted, that's because I like their stuff. If you just don't like their stuff, fine. But if I just didn't like their stuff enough to want to shop there, there's no way that I'd still be willing to spend $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 on a pre-loved bag, because I think about how many other bags you could buy, let alone like cars, tuition, down payments, things like that. You could do a lot with that. We'll just call it $30,000. And so I just think it's really crazy that people are willing to pay that. I get it that people don't want like the time and hassle of playing the Hermes game. I completely get it. But if you don't want to play the Hermes game, if you will, I'm just not willing to part with $30,000 that easily. So then I just wouldn't be going after a Birkin or Kelly. That's just my opinion. And maybe for the people that do, maybe you make a lot more money than me. Or maybe you don't. And maybe you're just really not willing to deal with like the muss and the fuss. For those of you, because I know a lot of you all have bought brand new pre-loved ones, let me know down in the comments below, like, how do you justify that purchase? Because for me, it just feels too high, considering the fact that like at the end of the day, they're just handbags. And so I've been very open about the fact that I think all luxury handbags are overpriced. The design and the materials, they don't cost nearly what we spend on them. A lot of that extra money just goes to the bottom line. It goes to marketing, it goes to beautiful store decor, things like that. I think luxury brands charge way too much for all of their bags, but especially for Birkins and Kellys on the pre-loved market, that is just, it feels criminal to me. And so I don't think I would ever be willing to spend that amount on the pre-loved market. So much so that like, there are a lot of things I talk about on my channel. I'm like, oh, I would never spend that money on it, but if someone were to gift it to me, like, yes, I would absolutely take it. I actually don't think I would ever want someone to spend $30,000 on a plain leather like Birkin or Kelly on the secondhand market and gift it to me. Like, if my dad did that, I would feel bad. Like, I would feel really guilty. Like, I'd probably like return it and go give him the money back, because that just feels like too much to spend on a bag. So I don't know. That's just my thought. I don't think I could ever do it, but who knows? Say one day I become a bajillionaire. Say the company I'm working for goes public and my stock, goes through the roof. Who knows? Maybe. But even then, I still think I'd have a hard time parting with $30,000 just for one handbag. Moving on to Miu Miu, we've got to talk about something. And you all know I've done this like big in-depth video on, the rise of Miu Miu and how Dior is going to try and replicate this by taking, their head, making it the head of Dior. Let's see. I still haven't seen anything from Dior that seems to be going in the right direction, but regardless, Miu Miu has obviously had this like huge resurgence in terms of popularity. They're one of the top growing brands right now. But I think once our love of all things Y2K dies down, I think that Miu Miu is going to drastically decline in terms of popularity. And I think it is going to lose a lot of the business that, like the momentum that it's been gaining over the past few years. I think it's going to completely die out. Because at the end of the day, Miu Miu's aesthetic has always been very Y2K forward. And so that's exactly why Miu Miu did not succeed like in like the early 2000s and up until essentially like 2020. Like Miu Miu was almost like dead to the world. And so I have a hard time believing that that aesthetic actually has longevity. I think it works really well right now. And I think a lot of it girlies, especially like the younger generations, like Alpha and Gen Z, like they love it because they've never seen it before. But I think for a lot of us, especially those of us with like higher purchasing power, because we're like in our more mature years, there's something that's not really clicking in terms of Miu Miu because it just feels so dated to me. Like when I look at the bags, they don't just feel Y2K reminiscent. It feels like exactly what I would have bought back when I was in elementary, middle, high school. And I don't want to revisit that time in life. I think I have evolved in my style by now. And it just feels, like I said, just like a very specific moment in time. And I just don't think that that style has staying power. So I think, the Y2K craze, if you will, I think like in probably like 2 years, we'll probably be past it. I'd be really curious to see how Miu Miu does once that time approaches, because I just don't think that Miu Miu is going to continue to grow the way they have been, because I just don't think they're going to have the design aesthetic to support whatever the market is after when that time comes. That wraps up my unpopular luxury opinions for today. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below, especially the last one. I know there were a lot of spicy takes in this video, so I'll be curious to hear your all's thoughts, but I really enjoyed being able to share these thoughts with you all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would really love it if you could just give this video a little like. So give a thumbs up down in the corner below. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? You need to subscribe to my channel so that way you can get all my latest content about all things shopping delivered straight to you. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Lily, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, everyone.